Welcome to the Cables, Lace and Tails podcast. My name is Sue and I am a maker from northwestern Wisconsin. Hello on this blustery January day. It was a long day at work. It was a good day. We had outdoor recess. It was -5 with wind chilled, and we go outside at -6 and above. And the kids weren't dressed completely appropriate. You know, their jackets are unzipped down to here, and I was zipping everybody up and trying to keep them as warm as possible. And they had a great time, and so did I. So, first off, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for liking and commenting on my videos. It is such a joy to see the numbers go up. It is so fun to interact with all of you. I really do enjoy this medium of expressing my creativity. I will discuss what I'm wearing. I am wearing it's not a self-drafted. It is a sweater. It's a yoke, circular yoke sweater from the bottom up that I made out of Lion Brand's Wool Ease. I think the color is blush. It's pink. So it's 80% acrylic and 20% wool. It's the worsted weight. And I made it out of this book using that pattern. And the one thing I will say, which isn't a negative, but knowing what I know now, because this is one of the first sweaters I made, I would have made it shorter in length, but at the time I thought I wanted it as long as it is, and it's really nice. It keeps me really warm. Let's see if I could stand up and show you. So like if I had it more here, you know, versus way down here. However, this was the right sweater to wear today on the playground because it was a windswept prairie and it was very chilly and I was quite warm and toasty. So, okay. I don't know what else to say. I don't remember the needle size I used. I just followed the directions. I did the sleeves cuff up and then got them all on here, and it was a really good learning experience. I'm glad I took the time to learn how to knit sweaters on using more economical yarn than like expensive wool or cashmere or name brands that are extremely expensive. I think I got this during one of the shutdowns, and there was a big deal on Amazon at the time, and I think I got it like for $3 a skein, so it was well worth the payment. So I do have one finished object. They are not for me. I made a pair of socks for somebody, but they didn't fit ideally correctly. They were too long in the foot and I always felt bad. So I decided I would take time, because socks take a long time, and make another pair of socks. And even though I have followed the pattern from my other Ann Bud book, which I have right here, this one, I am not 100% sure if they will fit ideally. So I still have to weave in the ends on top. I just literally finished this past weekend and I was so happy, but I did Kitchener stitch here, but I did not weave in this end, and I left it extremely long on purpose. So my plan, before we get into all the schematics, my plan is to wash these by hand, dry them, you know, hang dry, and then I'll probably weave in this end, of course, and then just leave this one undone. That's why I don't want to put them in the washing machine, because I don't want anything to unravel. So I'm going to wash them by hand, let them dry, and then let the recipient try them on and see how they fit. And if I have to change anything, then it would be more easy to undo it here. I say that now. It's black yarn and I would have to have like a lot of light. So I think I showed this one last week because it has the red heel. As you see, I have a red heel and then I have a purple with a little bit of red. I just use some leftover sock yarn and I always reinforce the heels because, you know, it makes a lot of sense if you walk really heavy or if you wear your shoes really, or I should say you wear your socks a lot. Things I can say about this pattern. I'm really hot. Whew. I don't know why. The heat is on right now and I'm just a little warm. So what can I say about this pattern? I always use a US 3 double pointed needle to about here. This is not exact. I do look at the pattern and then right there. I make all of my socks the same. I don't know why. I think it has something to do with the way they fit. I just really appreciate it. Hold on. Hey, hey, my dog is chewing on her paw and I don't want her to. Nellie, look at outside. Good girl. Anyway, so I use a US 3 to here and the rest is done with a US 2. I use double pointed needles. I prefer it that way. I do a 3x1 rib. You probably can't see on this, but it's a 3x1 rib, which is really easy to remember. And I use 4 needles to make this. So I have my triangle of 3 and then use the 4th for the knitting. I love the heel flap, turn heel and gusset aspects of this sock pattern. I love it. They fit my feet so well. I know everybody's different, but they fit my feet really well. And it's just I don't think you can even see. It's just a slip stitch pattern. And then right when I get to the turn heel area, I add in the second yarn and then, you know, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And then with the gusset, I always add extra stitches with the gusset, which helps everything kind of just fit your foot better. On my foot, say this is my toes, on my ankle here, it's really quite thick. And regular socks don't always fit right, or if they do, they actually cut off my circulation right at the base top of the foot, you know, right by the ankle. I will get big indents because the sock is too tight. So, oh God, the heat is off. So I spent like 2 days finishing the sock because it was about here, okay? And then the decreases are right where my finger is over here. So I had to knit about 8 inches from the back of the heel to here. And then I started doing the decreases. I did the main knitting one day and then I did the decreases the next day. And I am so happy they are done. It was a labor of love because it sucks, but also because it's black yarn. And I hope they fit. I hope they get a lot of use. And I hope I can give them to the recipient soon. So that is that. I am working on another pair of socks, but I didn't really, I mean, I may have worked a little bit on them, but nothing to show. There are 2 other projects that I did work on that I'm not going to show because it's like showing nothing. Even though I made progress, it doesn't look like it because the gauge is so small and it's just going to take time. Now, another thing I kind of finished is I finished the sleeve. I finished one of my sleeves for my wilderness sweater that I am calling my solstice sweater because I started it on the winter solstice. I'm just going to show a picture. Okay. That's what it's going to look like. Mine is different. Mine is black, pink, blue, and will be yellow. So here is my first sleeve. I did leave all the pins so I know exactly how to increase. I put them on this tied on tubing, which is really helpful, really helpful. Although it was a pain in the butt because this tubing is very thick. But in order to get the needles on to tie it on tubing, you have to have the thick stuff, and yet the thick stuff is so thick and kind of sticky that the yarn doesn't want to move around it. So it took some finagling, and I was quite irritated, to be perfectly honest. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, so isn't it pretty? So this motif will also be around here, and then also up here is a different style of the motif. And then in the middle where you saw the paw prints, I'm going to have pink paws and a yellow background. And it's going to be like the morning sun, you know, breaking through the darkness of the winter. So I started the second sleeve. Now I'm going to talk about the needles a little bit. The pattern calls for, I believe, a US 7 for the cuff and a US 10 for the main part of the sweater, not the color work if you knit tight. I didn't want my cuffs that tight, so I went up a needle size to a US 8. I'm using my Knit Picks laminated birch Sunstruck needles. I love them. I love them so much. I really do. I really like these needles a lot. In fact, I was thinking about something else that I'll get into in a little bit, but essentially I only have this much done. I was working on it this morning. I'm using 4 needles, and then the 5th one is to knit with. I love double pointed needles. I know it's not for everybody, but I really, really enjoy it. Plus, in my mind, I like to have little tasks that I can get done. Like, okay, well, I'm almost done with this round. I only have to knit 2 more needles and then I'll stop. Or, ooh, I got to get going, but I have enough to do 1 needle, you know, and it's not really that many stitches. And so it feels very, very easy. Now I'm following the directions for the pattern as well, but also what I did here. And like I added a row of black between the colorwork part and the cuff because I just wanted something more stable to start the colorwork. That's my choice. We can make modifications on any pattern. And then once I get done with this, I will switch to a US 10, and then I will switch up to, I did a 10.5 with this part here, which looks pretty good. Although I feel like it's a little tight right in this area. So a while ago, and I mentioned this last time, I invested in some needles because when I made my Foika sweater, I only had, I have stuff all over the place, but it's all here. And I got the right bin out today. So during one of the shutdowns, it was my birthday, and I got a gift card, or I had saved up something to that effect, or maybe both, to go to Michael's. And, you know, they had a massive deal. In fact, I bought all of these needles. These are all clover needles. I got circulars, and they are 16 inches. They're all 16 inches of various sizes of circulars. You know, some thin double pointed needles. This one, unfortunately, the top ripped off. I got some thicker ones. So I had, let me see. Why can't I read? This is a 9, and so I had a 10.5 last time. My Foika sweater, which doesn't have any color work until here, I tried using these, and I believe they're like 5 inches. No, they're 7 inches. Really? They're only 7 inches? I thought they were longer. Let me see here. Okay. Well, they're 7 inches, but they were too small to have on the, to have all of these stitches, because you end up getting about, for my size, I believe it's 60. So you have, 15 stitches per. And when I was doing the increasing in the color work, it just felt like everything was falling off. Or maybe the sweater had more stitches, or maybe I was only using 3 needles instead of 4 needles. And now I'm using 4 needles for this, which is a lot easier. But these are the same size, US 8s. And then I'm just going to hold it here. Wait, hold on. Hold that thought. Let's do the open one. Haha. Okay, so obviously it is about an inch smaller. That inch makes a huge difference, plus using the 4 needles. So when I was making the Foika, I switched from double pointed needles in the middle of my collar work to a circular needle, and it worked, but it was so hard. It wasn't a pleasurable experience, and I couldn't wait to be done with the color work part. But at the same time, when you're working that color work part for that Foika, you're also working into the main body of the sweater, and everything is supposed to line up, and mine unfortunately did not line up. So I bought different needles. These that I got from Michaels were all $3 a piece because they were trying to blow out their stock back then, and it was a great time to buy. And I was so amazingly happy. I was just like, I don't even know what I'm going to use a circular 16-inch US number 2 for, but I'm going to get it because it's going to come in handy, and they have. I have used a lot of these needles for a lot of different projects over the years. Now, when I was looking online at knit picks, because a lot of companies don't have a large size double pointed needle, or I wanted wood more than I wanted metal, and so I purchased, I'm not affiliated with them at all, I purchased the Sunstruck set, which goes from a US 4 to a US 9, because I thought to myself, I want to make a hat, and I might want to make a hat using a double pointed needle versus a circular needle. I just kind of want to see if it would be easier on my hands, for one. 2, would it be easier to do and be more exciting, to finish versus, I gotta do it in the round. I know a lot of people like doing stuff in the round, and I will, but they did not have these larger sizes. Okay, I'm gonna put them in order. So here's, oops. So I got US 10 to US 11. And there's a 10.5 and a 10.75. Now I used a 10.5 for my wilderness sweater, but I am tempted to go up to a 10.5 and just see how that looks. Maybe it won't be as, can you see? It just, it looks pretty good. It looks better on camera than it does in person. it doesn't have a lot of give though right here. And not that you want a lot of give around your wrist, but I'm just saying, you know, like I was concerned about the color work up here, and then I learned because I read the pattern again that there is no color work until like you join everything in the round. Okay, so that's still debatable, but I just wanted to show that, you know, there are options. If you want to do it in a circular needle fashion, there are interchangeables. They do make jumbo sizes. I just prefer the double pointed needles. Now, hi there, baby. I do have a cat here. You may not see her because it's awful dark. It's kind of a cloudy day, and I'm kind of recording later in the day than I would normally, and I missed the afternoon sun today because I had a staff meeting. All right, what else was I going to say? So I'm making the second sleeve. Oh, sleeve size. I'm not that tall. And in the pattern for the size that I am making, which I think is the third size, there's only 4 sizes, I believe. 5 sizes. I'm making the second to the largest, so I can wear clothes underneath it. You're supposed to have, I believe it's 19 inches for the sleeve before you add it to the circular yoke or the body of the sweater. And I'm just not that long. I look back, I didn't take that great of notes with my FOICA like I thought I had. I look back though, and I did see a note that says sleeve 17 inches or 18 inches. And then I had an arrow pointing to the 17. So at this present moment, this is 17 inches. If I have to add on a little bit of height, I can do that at that time. So I have a kitty coming. She's coming to say hello. Hello, how are you, baby? Now, that is the wilderness sweater. I'm very excited. I love this yarn. It's Alafosslopi. I got mine from Little Knits in Seattle, which is an online store. They have great customer service. When I buy my yarn from them, they always put in the package, have fun knitting your project, or thanks for buying yarn from us, or you know, tell us what you made, or something to that effect. I think that's really, really sweet. You know, it really shows that they care. And they have, I just looked the other day, not that I'm buying anything, but I just, you know, curiosity, do they still have it? They don't have the Patons anymore, but they do have all the other sizes, all their other widths, no, styles. Hi. So it's 30% off right now, and that's a pretty good deal. Hi, baby. Hello. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about sweater-wise, and I'm going to discuss some other tidbits about gauges and whatnot, is my vegetable patch cardigan. There's the pocket down there. I actually got a lot further than what it's showing. This is where I was the last time I talked. But as you can see, I had to frog a little bit. Story time. As I move the little pin up. Okay, so I am the librarian's main para, which is paraprofessional or educational assistant for the library. I really enjoy working in the library. She is there every other week because she actually has to work at 2 different schools in my district, which happens a lot with Phi-Ed or music, or I don't know about art, but the library. And so she stated earlier this school year, I don't remember exactly when, okay, to hold me accountable, there we are. Let's see how far I can get. She stated that we are getting rid of all the guided reading books, which is 3 big shelves, 4 shelves, wait, yeah, I think 4 shelves, maybe 5 shelves high, and also some on another few shelves over to the side. And they're all in like little Rubbermaid bins, and there's a ton of books in each one, and they go from A to Z. A meaning the easiest to read, Z being the most complex, the novels and stuff like that. And they're just not being checked out, you know, with our digital age and all of that. And I don't make the rules. So she instructed me, you know, how to do it, how to just, you know, so I eliminate them from our database and, you know, put them all back so we can either give them to teachers or whatever. I have no idea. Some books were brand new, never even, you know, read, which is it's a real shame. It's a real shame. Just because, I should say, curriculums change. I should say there's the digital aspect where you can just read the book on some other website, like Pebble Go, for example. Anyway, so I was working on that, and I was determined to get it done on Monday this week. And I had to use Clorox wipes to, they were so dirty. Oh, the lightest, I don't have anything right here. I mean, just imagine the most dirty of dirt. Some of it was actually black. I found dead bugs in the bins, you know. Dust bunnies. So you have all the dust and all that stuff, plus the Clorox wipes to clean the stuff. And I would have to clean the shelves, and you could just feel the grit on the bottom from years of poor janitorial work. And then, what else? Oh, I don't do well with smells, and I had to use a Sharpie to, you know, go through the barcodes, etc., etc. So I came home on Monday, and at first I was like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm good. And then I'm like, oh man, I'm so tired. And now I'm nauseous. And now I have a headache. What is going on with me? I was fine just a little bit ago. Oh, I just don't feel good. And then I realized, well, you have like all the remaining smells and dust in your nasal cavity. So I took care of that. And then my nausea went away, thankfully. And I was working on this at that time. And I would just like, and it was getting dark, and I was refusing to turn on the lights because, you know, a dark yarn like this and no lights, it's fine. I know what I'm doing. I know how to follow the pattern. It's no big deal. This is easy. So I put it away, only to bring it out probably later that day. Yep, later that day, because yesterday I didn't have time because I was working a double. And I went, wait a second, the pattern is off. How is the pattern off? It was off right here. I was like, what happened? Where did I lose a stitch? And I was looking, and I thought I lost a stitch here, but I did not lose a stitch here. I lost a stitch basically right here. right before the cable, or right around the cable area. And I was so mad at myself. I thought I could fix it, but I could not. So I had to frog all of that hard work, and I was really I was really disappointed in myself, because A, I know you're supposed to use light. B, why was I forcing myself to work on something when I obviously was being affected by fumes, and who knows what was in that dust. Just let's say that. So yeah, I was further along, but I'm still making progress. I am using the Knitter's Pride Zing US 6 needles, which is what I got gauge with. And it's a lovely pattern by Anni Howard. I have shown the book many a times in the Homestead Cables. Ooh, that looks good. That looks real nice. I really like this pattern. The yarn is Wool of the Andes Shire Heather, and it's beautiful deep greens and whatnot. And my cat just cannot wait to kill the other skein. So when I was working on it, I did have my next skein, you know, ready to go to get put in. Oops, upside down. This is a very economical yarn. You know, sometimes you can get it for $2 a skein, and sometimes you can get it for discounts. I know their discount from their email. They're like, try and buy, you know, making you trying to buy more yarn. It's 30% off and it's ending tonight. And I'm like, that's nice. I have enough right now. Each worsted weight has 110 yards, and it's a 50-gram ball. It's just really nice. Highland Peruvian wool. Smells good. It feels good. I love this yarn. So that is that. I will just continue to make this and hopefully finish this not too long. I was really close too. When I measured, I think I was like at 14 or 15 inches, and I needed to get to 18 inches to do the the armhole shaping, and I was like, darn it. I was so mad. I was really bummed. And then yesterday I had to work a ticket booth, and then I just didn't have time to hardly work on anything. So the last thing I'm going to discuss is gauge swatches. To do them or not to do them, that remains the question. You should do a gauge swatch. Even if you don't want to, you should just do it. Even if you don't, it's not always bad, but it's not always good. So I was trying to make this wool, which is the Wool of the Andes worsted in opal heather. It's so pretty. So pretty. And I was trying to make it work for the Frere sweater, which needs a 21 stitch gauge for 4 inches. I used a US 5 for this, which is, it makes it pretty. It's sturdier. It's not too airy. It's not too stiff. But I only got 19 stitches per 4 inches after being blocked. I don't know if I'm just being really loose right now with my knitting. And maybe I know things change. I know, like, the more you do something, you can get looser or tighter depending on life itself. The more rhythmic of something going back and forth, you know, you can roll out, but I don't tend to roll out when I purl. It's pretty even. That's why I like going back and forth. I don't know. So I'm kind of putting the Frere sweater on hold at this moment. I may have other yarn when I look at my situation. I may have better yarn suited for that sweater that I just don't know about at this moment. And instead of trying to force this into that at this present moment, I'm just going to put it on hold. And I may make something different with this yarn, or time will tell. Okay, so then I did make some more gauge swatches for my stripe hype sweater idea. I just used the Dove because I just thought, you know, I want to save the color part. If I run out of this, I can finagle with the color more, and I just didn't want to switch colors again. This one, oh, I should say both needles beforehand, which I have it in somewhere else, both gauge swatches for these two sweaters were made with metal needles beforehand. And then this time I made them with the Knit Picks wood ones, the Sunstruck wood ones, the circular. Because I also had the 4 square, but I used the circular ones, the rounded needles, not the circular needles that were also round. Anyway, so I used a US 6 wood one for this one, and I need 20 stitches for 4 inches. And after blocking, I got 18.5. And if you can see, when I block these, I do put pins in them, but I don't stretch them at all. I just kind of like lay it flat and just tack it down. I don't stretch at all. I just tack it down just to keep the stitches as even as possible. But if you look at my swatch, do you see how the top is bigger than is it a rhombus? The top is more loosey-goosey than the bottom. See how it, whoop, whoop, whoop. So this is 20 stitches. Now, when I was looking back at my notes in my book here, I did a bunch of gauge swatching with Wool of the Andes worsted, not the tweed, just the regular. And I might have been knitting quite a bit tighter because I used a US 7, my Knitter's Pride Zings, and I got 20 stitches per 4 inches using a US 7. And then I used a US 6 Zing, and I got 25 stitches per 4 inches, and a US 6 wood Knitter's Pride, and I got 22 stitches per 4 inches. So what I'm thinking is that either A, when I did these gauge swatches 2 years ago, I was a tighter knitter. And now after 2 years, I'm kind of loosening up and I'm relaxing, or maybe I wasn't paying attention or concentrating on keeping it even. So I have mostly decided to use a US 6 wood needle and just kind of do a larger size, but not too large. I was thinking about this today. Like, the size that would fit my bust the best would be, I think it's a 45 inch, but you're supposed to do 8 to 12 inches of positive ease. And the next size up is a 49 something inch bust. And then the next one above that is like a 53. Now, when I was a young lass, I was very sprightly, you know, thin, like a lot of young people or whatever. I was very active. I didn't have a car. I walked everywhere. I rode my bike. When you're always active, your body's different. And I could get away with wearing really super baggy clothes and it looked good on me. Or at least I thought so. And then now, being an older lady at midlife, wearing something so extravagantly baggy kind of makes, at least me, it makes me feel kind of dumpy. like I'm trying too hard, or I don't know how to fit my clothes on me, or I'm trying to hide something. So this is what's been going through my head. And bodies always fluctuate, right? So I have decided to do the 49 or so inch bust stripe hype sweater using a size US 6 needle. I haven't decided if I'm going to use the Knitter's Pride or the Knit Picks, but I'm going to use wood. And then I will be maybe right on gauge, or maybe I'll have a little bit of a looseness to it, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. It's an oversized sweater. I'm doing a size that is a minimum, for my bust, it's a minimum of 7 inches larger, or for my midsection, it's another like 5 inches larger. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. And then I jumped on the bandwagon. I bought the pattern, the muscle burl, and I was looking at it. And okay, I can show this. This doesn't show much. All it does is say the stitches per inch and how many yards you need. Okay, this is interesting. And I realized, well, I don't know if she actually did this, to be perfectly honest, but I realized that essentially I have the same pattern in a way in this book. Because on this page, she has the different sizes, okay, and the stitches, 9 stitches all the way to 5 stitches, and how much yardage you need, or centimeters, whatever. So in this book, you essentially find your pattern that you like, and say you're going to make us a hat. I'm going to find the hat. And tams. I'll just show you the tam because I have stuff in the hat part. Okay. So you just find your gauge. Let's see here. Ooh. Okay, you find your gauge. It only goes to, oh no, it's a 4 stitches per inch all the way to a 9 stitches per inch. So a little bit more inclusive, I'm just saying. Although hers is, there's a lot of like 7.5, 6.5, and 5.5. So there's a little bit of leeway in there. So here you would find your circumference that you need for your hat, and then your gauge, and then you would just follow that column down and then follow the pattern. And I was like, huh. Now, I was really happy because I found this, and I was thinking about like, what yarn do I have? What do I want to try making this hat out of? Do I want to use sock yarn? Which I do have some different sock yarns. I don't want to use sock yarn right at this present moment. I would like to use upcycle alpaca because I have so much of it, as well as maybe some palette yarn. And I haven't decided exactly, but I was leaning towards, since I have extra leftover Briar Twist palette yarn, that would be a good way to use it up. And then I would have like a hat. And I do plan on making more than one hat because, you know, why not? Now I haven't read the whole pattern through. And I got not stuck, but I kind of stopped on how you start. And then, because you start at one top and you go all the way down. Now, most people who know about this pattern understand, okay? So you start up here and you go all the way down. And then she gave you some, options like Judy's Magic Cast On, or there was a I-cord buttonhole, which I looked up. Sounds really, really complicated. And then there was someone mentioned Elizabeth Zimmerman, and I do have some books by Elizabeth Zimmerman. And then I was thinking, well, what did I do when I crocheted? And they always talked about using like a magic loop type thing. I will be completely honest. I succeeded at or magic circle, something to that effect, a half a time. I tried so long to get it. I spent so much time, so many hours trying to figure it out, and it just didn't fit my capabilities. And I thought, there has to be an easier way. There has to be an easier way. So like with crochet, if they said, use a magic circle and crochet 6 single crochets and then start from there. So your beginning round is 6 crochets. I would instead knit or crochet 2 and then crochet 6 in that first loop, not counting the extra one, because then it would be tight. If there was a tiny little hole, just a tiny, I would just, you know, put the yarn there and it would just, you wouldn't even notice, because I did this a lot with all of the toys I made. And a lot of the toys, they're always telling you to do that magic circle and then you can like tighten it, and it's, I know a lot of people like it. I do not. So I thought, well, I'm going to look into Elizabeth Zimmerman a little bit more. However, when it says you start with like, I think it's like 8 stitches, and you know, you don't have to use DPNs. You can use circular. I am going to opt for DPNs. And if I, okay, yeah, cast on 8 stitches. Well, that's really tiny. You know, like there's only 4 stitches. I mean, 4 needles, 2 stitches on each. You know, you could do 3 needles, 3, 3, 2, but you know, that's pretty small, that little hole. And you could actually cinch it up with the yarn tail later on. And it also could be the inside of the hat. So, yeah, it says magic loop or 2 circulars. And I thought, I've never done magic loop and I don't really want to. I have limited time, especially now. My work schedule is quite busy. I don't have the luxury of like, well, I'm just going to sit here for the next 6 hours and have people wait on me. No, that's not how it works. It's a little bit here, it's a little bit there. It's, you know, pick up and go. It's keep you busy while you're waiting in the car for your child to get done with stuff, all that fun stuff. So I have ideas on what the yarn will be for the muscle burl, and I'm going to do some experimenting. I'm going to look into my Elizabeth Zimmerman books, which I do plan on showing at some time in the future. She actually lived in Wisconsin, and I've known that, but I've watched somebody today discuss Elizabeth Zimmerman, and it was really interesting. I wish I remember the YouTube thing, but you know, if you put it in there, it might come up because it's a brand new video. All right, so let's see. Gauges, that's it. That's all I got for you today. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope everyone is having fun. Would you like to see Anya? Should I wake her up from her slumber? Will she release the couch if I wake her up slowly? I mean, she hears me. She's listening. Oh, she's here. Oh, she likes to stretch. Stretch. So pretty. This is Anya. She's my baby, and she's so soft and warm, and she's just a beautiful girl, and we love her so much. And she has claws that will, you know, any mouse would be scared of, right? That's right, Mom. That's right. Oh, all right. Thank you so much for subscribing and liking. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I really appreciate it. And I hope the sun comes back a little bit more each day, as it does, because my house is quite dark at this moment in time. All right, take care. Have fun. Bye for now. Bye, everybody. Have fun.